Alright, so I don't know if I'm weird or anything, but does any other guys out there have like a hat collection? Because I do. I don't know if you've noticed, but I wear all kinds of hats on this show. I wear this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one. I have a lot of hats. I don't know what it is with me, but I love hats, and it's something that I love. Other people have hats out there? I don't know, but maybe let me know if you have a hat collection, because I feel like I'm kind of out there and do something weird by having lots of hats. What is up, guys, and welcome to Rokz News, the place where you come to see all of your weird, strange, or crazy and awesome news. So, first thing we have today, article number 1. In World War II awesomeness news, this stunning combat art reveals what aerial warfare was like during World War II. So, this was not necessarily a digital camera, but it was a picture that was made and then, like, developed, or a series of pictures that were taken and then developed further into what aerial combat in World War II really was like. So I will show you guys a few of those pictures, and then I'll give you a little bit of a reaction to them. Picture. So that's a lot of pictures, and honestly, looking through those, number 1, I looked at the camera and it looked like a lot of them were very bright on the screen. That's actually how they are. It's not like it's a reflection from light or anything. This is actually how they are made, and how they looked in the actual picture as well when I'm looking at it on the screen. Number 1, these pictures are absolutely fantastic. I don't know who made these pictures. Well, I mean, it was a series of different people that made these pictures, I think, or maybe it was all one guy. I'm not really sure. I didn't really read a whole lot into this article. But there are a lot of really cool pictures, and I think that they really do capture what World War II fighter pilot combat really was like at the time. It looks very realistic and very possibly accurate to what the time period would have looked like. If you look through, also, the planes are very much like the planes that they show at the time, if not actually the planes themselves, and a lot of them showing a lot of more almost even difficult things to look at, like the picture here where the planes are actually like in the middle of crashing midair, and that's, number 1, that's an impressive piece of artwork, just showing and capturing that instantaneous, little piece. But also, that's just amazing to look at, and it really does capture a little piece of history that really isn't shown anywhere else on history books or anything like that. They don't show any of that stuff really in history books because they kind of assume that you'll figure it out, I guess. I don't really know, but I mean, I do really like the fact that that's something that they can portray in that picture. Alright, next up we have cop news. Philadelphia police are currently investigating a wild video of a man who was beaten by cops. I've watched the video. I probably won't show it in the video just because it's a little bit long, and there's a lot of cursing in it and things like that, just because the lady who's taking the video was in her house and she's just kind of freaking out at the whole sight of what she's seeing. But basically, it's a cell phone video recorded in the vertical thing, which basically shows how a man was on the ground and repeatedly surrounded and then beaten by a large group of police officers. I think there was 12 maybe by the end of the video. They kind of kept coming in cars, so it started out with like maybe 4, and then there was like 6, and then 10, and then eventually 12. There's number 1, that's a lot of people swarming around one person just to beat them up. I don't really understand what the purpose of this was. It also looked like from the video this person was just kind of walking down the street, and then the cop just went, "Hey!" Boom, 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 and that's it. Like, that's where it started. It didn't look like anything was really happening, but it looks like a bunch of cops were just beating them up. It does look like he was tased in the video, as well as being punched and kicked by these cops. It looked like he was being tased at least twice, maybe. And there was a lot, like, you can hear the police officers cursing at the man as well. Although apparently he was found, a little bit was revealed that he was found with a little bit of, like, drugs in his possession. But either way, it didn't really Like, if he's just walking down the street and he was already on the ground after, like, 2 guys beat him up, I don't think they needed 12 guys to stand around beating him up. And apparently they were transported to the hospital, and he had bleeding wounds. And come on, like, there was no reason to beat him up if he was already on the ground, and you just put him in the car and take him with you. You don't have to, yeah, it wasn't really necessary at all. So, but from my personal standpoint, at least the way I believe that it's not the idea of cops that's the problem. It's definitely the individual, and the fact that these people were beating up this man was not a reflection on police officers in general. It was a reflect on their poor judgment and the way that they were acting. At that point, it's okay for that man to defend himself. I mean, if he's being beaten by 12 people, even if he was technically doing a criminal act, he should have defended himself in whatever way he could have, and I would have understood if he did. At that point, you're the victim. I mean, definitely. And so this is a ridiculous thing, and so apparently the police are looking into it just to see what exactly was happening, because this is crazy, dude. And yeah, this occurred on April 4th, 2015, but I guess the video didn't release until recently, so they didn't actually look into it until the time. Because I guess they just convicted the man and then just set him on put him in jail, but they probably didn't see this video until recently, and now they're looking back at it and saying, maybe it wasn't really this guy's fault for everything that happened. And finally, in awkward airplane news, apparently a new plane cabin design could force passengers to make eye contact with each other. Now, the proposal was made for a new type of plane cabin which would put passengers in a hexagonal shape. So there would be like a chair here, chair here, chair here, chair here, and then 2 chairs like this. And it looks like the chairs that are sitting on the ends would be facing towards each other, and then the ones in here and here would all be facing in one direction. So they would all be facing towards the front, but then the ones on the side would actually be facing each other. So this would make plane rides super awkward. Planes are literally designed so that everyone faces forward, and because yeah, people might want to start conversation on planes. Everyone that's going on a plane is going to be transported to somewhere. They're not going there to just strike up a conversation with a random passenger. Not that you can't do that, but this would make it a lot more awkward if you're not trying to do that. A lot of people just go and they're just like, oh, hey, I'm going to sit here listening to music, or I'm going to watch a movie, or I'm just going to eat some food and take a nap. But this is kind of forcing people to either strike up a conversation with the person over here, or the other possible issue with this is that, you know, you're just going to be, like, sitting there, and the person over here is going to be like, I'm waiting for you to talk to me, sir. What? I don't know. I feel like it could start an issue, and we don't want to have that in our planes, because, you know, starting issues in planes is not the best idea. But, I mean, yeah, it would make it really, really awkward for passengers who don't want to communicate with each other just because they're trying to use this as a time to either relax, because that sounds nice. You sit down on a plane and relax, and you're just being taken somewhere for 20 hours. And some people don't want to really have that communication between 2 other people. And it's already bad enough with people having to sit like right next to each other in really close seats. But now you're kind of giving them a little more space, but now you're forcing them to communicate. And I know that sounds really, really antisocial for anybody who would not want to do that, but it is kind of awkward, I guess. The one big thing about this is nice is that it gives you a lot more space in your seat, so that instead of sitting like this with like 2 giant men on either side of you, like no, now you got all this space. You got like a ton of space. The way here, let's see if I can find a picture set up like this. So that should work out really, really well space-wise, but it would be really awkward for the passengers who are kind of looking at each other. Thanks for checking out this episode of Rokz News, guys. I hope you like or comment if you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to check out some more videos on the other parts of this channel, or even at this part of this channel, whatever you want to do. So, see you guys later.